let's talk about something that we all do but never share with anyone else. Which is sometimes we find ourselves imagining that we're back in the classroom of one of our old schools with our old teacher and our old classmates. But when we imagine ourselves back in the classroom, we also have our current IQ and our current levels of confidence. We then find ourselves not just answering the questions correctly that the teacher puts to us, but we imagine ourselves taking over the class and teaching the kids and even the teacher as you literally school them, no pun intended, as we flex our knowledge and dazzle them with our profound IQ and confidence. Also in our fantasy, we may also be acknowledged for our intelligence and moved to the front of the class, or even moved into another class who has a teacher who can keep up with our mental acrobatics. We've all imagined ourselves back in the classroom, but I ask, why do we have this fantasy from time to time? Whenever we imagine ourselves back in the classroom or back in an old job with our current knowledge and our current levels of confidence, we do this because a part of us is trying to rewrite something that happened to us in our past where we come out feeling like a winner. But the reason why our fantasy doesn't work and the reason why it has no lasting effects on us is because we haven't done anything to burn up the energy of the feelings that we experience. Like when we burn up the energy of our feelings in the way that roaring out our emotional pain allows us to experience. Our emotional training. The sad truth is that during our upbringing, none of us were ever taught how our emotions work. The best opportunity that most of us got to learn how our emotions work was when we was told over and over again to stop crying, or our sisters being told that being angry isn't ladylike, or whenever our parents have had enough of us and just told us to shut up. Or if you come from my era, we was told that kids should be seen and not heard. And this was our formal emotional training. We blindly did what we was told to do back then, and the results was that we became experts at suppressing our emotions. We became experts at lying when we was caught. And putting this to an extreme, we even learned how to suppress our young personalities around certain people, which sadly is a lesson that a lot of us still follow to this very day. But now we're adults, and now that we have a fully developed emotional palate, we can look back and see that our emotional training had many flaws. As we was never taught things like how to deal with our emotional pain and agony, not by ignoring and suppressing those feelings like we was taught to, but by finding ways to work with our pain directly and get instant results, like when we consciously blend with our feelings of pain, for example. And neither was we taught that we need to find ways to burn up the energy of anger and rage, like we're currently learning when we roar out our animalistic ranges of feelings. But the hard truth is that we must find our own way to deal with our emotional pain, either by seeing a mental health professional at different periods throughout our lives who offer their expertise and a safe place where we can express our feelings, or we must teach ourselves how our emotions work and how to work with our bad feelings and turn them into good feelings. Many paths leading to the same place. When it comes to taking control of our feelings and changing our emotional state for the better, I believe that there is no one best way that will work for everyone. We all lead different lives, and we all respond to different approaches and different methods, as there are many ways to work with our emotional pain, to understand what's going on in our inner world, and to turn those painful feelings into good feelings. But whichever way we choose to work with our own personal pain and make ourselves feel better than we did, when we begin to feel better, there will come a time when we must embrace healthier truths. Truths like, just because a stressful situation plays over and over in your mind like a broken record doesn't mean that you are broken. Or that just because you wake up feeling terrible, after a 20-minute session of working in your inner world doesn't mean that you have to spend the rest of your day feeling that way. We are all still learning how our thoughts and emotions communicate to us and how we can communicate to them. And there's no shame in admitting that we are all still learning how our thoughts and feelings work. As like I say, we were never taught these things when we was growing up. Coming to the end of using your negative soundtracks to emotionally link back. The signal that you've come to the end of using your negative soundtracks to emotionally link back is when you have a negative soundtrack running through your mind, but you don't feel like using it to emotionally link back. As our emotional self may hijack our negative soundtracks, but it doesn't cause them. In order to stop our negative soundtracks from ruining our lives, we must get rid of the feelings that cause our negative soundtrack in the first place, which is exactly what we'll be doing in the next method of this self-help system, where we will learn that not all the feelings we experience actually belong to us, and we'll discover a way to send those feelings back to who they do belong to. But in this part of the self-help system where we are emotionally linking back, what we are working towards achieving is stopping your emotional self from hijacking your negative soundtracks just to give you messages about how specific childhood events have affected you, which will allow you to take a huge step forward into putting an end to how your negative soundtracks affect you on an emotional level. I started this video talking about how we try to rewrite our past by imagining ourselves back in the classroom with our current IQ and our current levels of confidence. And the closest that we can get to travelling back in a time machine and actually physically changing our past is to emotionally link back and roar out the animalistic feelings that we experience. And when you step out of the roaring room and let your emotions settle, you'll see for yourself that we don't need a time machine to heal the past. We just need to find ways to burn up those feelings and get rid of the emotions that tie us to those past events. I'll end by saying that another healthier truth to embrace is that your past doesn't hold a grudge over you. It doesn't have an agenda to hurt you, as in reality, it doesn't care about you. And nor can your past come into your present without a subconscious part of you bringing it into your present. There are many emotional levels within us, from the surface levels to the deepest levels, that each have their own way of bringing our past into our present. And by emotionally linking back, we are dealing with the lowest, deepest level within us, to stop our emotional self from hijacking our lives to give us messages about our childhood. Once we've finished emotionally linking back, we've dealt with the deepest level within us, and we never have to revisit this level again, as we'll be moving on to other ways to cut the ties on other levels within us that keep bringing our past into our present, until the day comes when you've cut all of those anchors, leaving the past where it truly belongs. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.